Morning. It is that day of the week again. Have my late shift at work, so of course I'm going out for a morning run. And I've spoken so much about the weather lately, but today there's barely any wind and it's not raining, so I'm in a good mood alone from that. So what's my weird layering today? Well, you would have seen it. It's this matcha latte mix essentially. It's like a matcha powder drink. So you add it with milk. And yeah, it's meant to be good for you. Don't think it's quite so good at it, or good for you, as when you look at the ingredients on the back, because there's quite a lot of sugars and stuff. But I like it anyway, and we're using it for a different use today. I've already rubbed it on my arm. So what is in this matcha latte mix? What are the main ingredients essentially? Well, it's got things like coconut powder, coconut sugar. Essentially, it's got this bit of coconutty smell. It says calcium's in it, but that's actually from the seaweed. And I think there's this very strong marine smell to this, really, really strong. Um, some people say it's probably not very pleasant. And then you've got that grassy sort of smell from the matcha powder as well, which is obviously the main selling point of this product. So they're the main things you kind of detect from it. A bit of coconut, a bit of that seaweed type smell, marine smell, and the matcha powder adds a little bit of grasses. It's also got like reishi mushroom in, and all other things, but to be honest, you can't really detect that smell too much. It's just very much this slightly grassy, slightly nutty smell. So what we're going to do, if you haven't seen these before, essentially I'm going to apply a fragrance, and the one I'm applying today is from my little discovery set that I've got here. And the reason I'm using this one is because fresh cedarwood, which is this one on the end here, the note profile, which I don't think you'll be able to see on the camera, but that little bit of writing there says marine. And obviously, as I was saying, there's this seaweed type smell, so I want it to elevate that marine smell from the fragrance. Now, before we do that though, I'm going to tell you how much I can detect what I've already rubbed on my arm. Now, obviously, I've done things like petroleum jelly, I've done oils, I've done creams, I've done all sorts of things. And obviously, absorption and how much it sort of absorbs into your skin and binds with the fragrance, yeah, it can vary quite a lot. This one hasn't absorbed particularly well. Obviously, as you saw, it was a powder. I just applied water, but you can kind of see it's dried up a little bit on my arm. See those sort of black dots here? And it's very crusty. It's really, really crusty. So I'm just going to give it a quick sniff, see what it smells like. It's been about half an hour since I applied it. To be honest, it's very faint, but I'm getting that very slight coconutty seaweed type smell. But that is nowhere near as strong as normal. So it's already dried out quite a lot. So I'm a little bit worried that's actually hurting, moving it with my hairs. It's pulling on it, it's really tugging. So we're going to apply the fragrance in a second anyway on both sides. Let's do that now. Let's pull that up. And yeah, I'll see if I can undo this. These take ages, so I'm going to cut this for a second while I try and get it open. Oh, do you hear that noise? You think that'd be a little atomizer, wouldn't you? But it's not. It's just one you dab on. So I'm hoping when I dab this on, that'll just sort of loosen that matcha powder off a little bit more. So we'll apply it onto that side first. The general smell of the fragrance is just a little bit woody. I don't really think it's particularly marine aquatic. So I'm just rubbing that in. That has loosened off that sort of... I think it's the sugar. I think it's the sugar that's really hurting my arm. It's drying up. It's making it like, when you have those face creams that have those bits in, it's a little bit like that. So the one that's got the layering on today is obviously the one without the watch on, and then we'll apply it this side, the fragrance without the layering. So we'll leave that like so. But it's a very pleasant smell. It just smells a little bit like men's body spray. Fresh cedarwood. Again, you can probably guess that it's a bit aquatic, bit woody. Slightly peppery, I would say. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly do some stretching. Then in about 10 minutes, we'll smell my arms again. See if I can detect any difference in smell between the two. And yeah, just what I can pick up essentially. But now that fragrance oil has gone on with the match powder, that's definitely loosened it off. It's much nicer, a little bit sticky, but yeah, we can smell stuff. So yeah, we'll give it 10 minutes, let it sort of sit, and we'll see if we can detect any differences in performance and scent. Okay, so it's time to smell my arms again, see what we can detect. It's been about 10 minutes since I applied the fragrance. Right, you're definitely getting that coconutty smell now. But it's not like sun cream, you're definitely getting that seaweedy vibe in the background. But overall, I think the fragrance is overtaking the layering, and I'm kind of expecting that today. I don't know how this is going to do, particularly when I sweat and obviously when I have a shower later on. But there's definitely this coconut and seaweed vibe in the background. Not really getting that greenness from the matcha. And obviously this one without the layering, it's a little bit sharper actually. It's a little bit more like there's a green note in it. It's almost burning your nostrils. That's what I get. I don't think there's anything too different in terms of strength at the minute. It's just that coconut sun creamy type smell. It's just loosened maybe that zesty citrus off the top. Whereas that feels a lot harsher, but almost a bit more. Yeah, that actually smells more aquatic in my opinion. We said it's a marine vibe. That's got more of a marine vibe at the moment, 100% because of that seaweed, I think. And that's very sharp. So yeah, be interested to see how that tames down, because these are not strong fragrances. These are Marks and Spencer's fragrances. So be interested to see. They normally go down after about 2 hours. So what we're going to do then, we're going to go for a run now. At the moment, I said they're about 85-90% as strong as you'd expect. That one just smells slightly lighter because it's got that sort of more coconut vibe. But on my run, I'll do 3 checkpoints. So I'll do sort of every half an hour essentially. I want to do about 12 miles. I'll give you an update. Then when I come back, I'll do an indoor smell test, because sometimes it can smell quite different because your nose blocks up when you're outside. I can already feel that powder on my nose now. And also one after the shower and see if it's lasted. That'd be about 3 hours time. So yeah, let's get out there, actually feeling a bit more motivated. So podcasts to listen to, and yeah, it's not going to rain. That is the main thing. Let's go. Okay, so we're about half an hour in it. It's time to smell my arms, see what we can detect so far from the layering and without. So that's the layering. Let's roll my sleeve up. And that's without. Right, smell that layering again. And without. Okay, so initial impressions, to be honest, they're both about 70% as strong. What I would say is with the layering at the moment, because it's a dry powder, and I'd expected this really after applying it, it doesn't feel like it's really mixed. What you kind of get is you get that real strong opening of the fragrance, and then the more you inhale, the more you go like that, you then get this like coconut seaweed vibe. And again, I just think it's purely because it is a powder and it's not an oil, so it's not absorbing into the skin, and it's just really just sat on the top, and the fragrance of course is doing all the work there essentially. And I think if someone came by and said, oh, what's the difference of these two smells on your arm, they wouldn't pick it up. You almost need to know that you've put something else on and then breathe in a bit more to recognise it. And I feel like today that's going to have an impact on performance as much as anything. I think the smell's going to smell much the same, but I think when that fragrance wears off, and so it's about 70% strong, once that fragrance wears off, I don't think you're going to really detect anything here. I think it's just going to not last any longer at all. But you do get, again, that slight coconut vibe in the background. Again, in terms of feel on my arm, yeah, it's quite dry. It's dried out again, but it's not really unpleasant. You know, if you sort of pull your skin a little bit, it feels like it's tugging at the hairs, but it's not unpleasant. It doesn't feel like it's going to stain any clothing, or, you know, I don't feel like I can't touch my arm there because it's going to, you know, transfer onto my nose. It's going to, you know, feel all uncomfortable. It's not particularly sticky. It's more just dry. So yeah, nothing particularly wows me at the moment. It's not going to do anything too much, but I'd probably say feel a little bit dry, and if anything, a slight hint of coconut in the background. But other than that, 70% strong. I think if someone walked by you and you're waving your arm like this, they still recognise the fragrance. So the fragrance is performing pretty well overall. But yeah, we'll be about halfway after I do my next checkpoint. So that'll be about another half an hour's time, and we'll see if anything's changed. Okay then, so checkpoint 2, time to swirl my arms. Right, let's do that again. Well, I think the fragrance has actually changed now more than anything. It definitely smells more sweeter than it did in the opening. It was quite sharp green, whereas now it's certainly becoming more aquatic. Now, can I smell any of that layering now? I'll be honest, not in the minute. My nose is freezing though, and that does play a part. You know, sorry, you're hearing me sort of sniffing the snot, but that's blocking a lot of the smell, particularly when the fragrance isn't as strong. And I'd probably say now, in terms of the smell of the fragrance, it's probably about 35-40%. It's half as strong as it was it's become a little bit sweeter, a bit more aquatic, rather than that sort of green marine type smell. But it's not unpleasant. But I do feel like if I can detect any of that coconutty smell, I'm kind of, just because I know it's there. You know, if someone else felt my arm now, I don't think they'd really detect it. I think the real test now will be when I've gone back inside, because I said my nose is quite cold. It's quite chilly this morning, and this isn't the sort of fragrance that really elevates. You know, I've done some oud based ones recently. This one is much more of a freshie, and when it's cold, it's quite hard to detect, particularly when it goes into that sort of aquatic vibe. So yeah, so far, again, doesn't feel unpleasant on my arm. Doesn't feel like it's blocking my pores, but it is getting harder to detect, and I don't think it's absorbed well at all. Maybe if this had been applied with something like an oil, this might have been alright. But so far, wow, there's so many brambles. But so far, yeah, it's not making a huge difference, I must admit. But as I said, it definitely feels better on the skin. Anyway, we'll do one more checkpoint on my run, head home, and then we will test inside. I think the fragrance might almost be gone after this checkpoint. Okay then, final checkpoint. Time to smell my arms. That's the layering. That's without. Right, well I have to say, and again, this could just be pure coincidence, I feel like I can smell the layering one more, but it's only the fragrance I can smell. I cannot smell anything else. It's become a sort of sweet minty smell again. Let's just double check. But that is definitely there, and it's probably about 30%. It's not really got a lot weaker from since I last smelled about half an hour ago. And that's probably about 25. It is still there. I think sometimes once you've breathed in one side, you need to just give it a minute. Just be a nose to have a bit of a reset. Yeah, there's not a lot in it. And I really do feel like the layering is not actually adding anything to the fragrance now. To me, it just literally feels like it is the fragrance with this slight dry skin feeling because of the powder just sort of, yeah, sitting on your arm dry. But it's not stressful. I wonder if you heated this up, like I have it in a drink with some milk, whether this would have done something. But I definitely think with some oil, which could have maybe kept that sort of powder a bit softer for a bit longer. It may have brought out, so we did vegetable oil last time. Maybe that would have added something to this, but it's not unpleasant. It's not, you know, as I said earlier, it's something that I think could work. It's just maybe that finding a way of making it absorb a little bit more, but it's done okay. It's done okay so far. Again, the real test I think will be inside. When I go inside, will it be more noticeable, and also will it actually have a slight change of smell? Because at the moment I just think it's just completely worn off. But yeah, we'll get this done, we'll head back, and we'll reassess. I love coffee, but more importantly, the layering. Has it survived? Now I'm back inside. I've done 14 miles running. Has it survived? I did pull my sleeves down a little bit, just hopefully to protect the fragrance. Okay, so that was with the layering, and that's out. Just gonna let that sit again, just so it clears. Right, I don't know why, but the layering definitely is a bit stronger. But it's not the layering that I can smell, it's the fragrance. And that's what's confusing me with it. I thought if we were going to get anything today, it was going to be a mix of the smell with the fragrance. But it's the fragrance that's really kicked off. It's probably about 20% now. It's really cold, my arm. And that's probably about 5-10%. I don't think I'm going to be able to smell anything for both after a shower. I just don't know if it's the layering, though, that's really making this project more. I really don't. I think it could just be... It could be anything, couldn't it? It might just be for some reason the sun is actually coming from this side when I'm running. Could that have made a difference? Could that have affected its performance? But that's definitely a bit stronger, so really interesting. I do feel though, if we could heat this powder up maybe with some warm water, maybe next time put it in a cup and just swirl it around, then rub it on, we may get a slightly different thing in terms of smell. I think the smell would certainly come out more from the matcha mix. So yeah, interesting, very interesting. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do some weight. Be about 10 o'clock by the time I've had my shower, so about an hour from now, and that'll mean it's been 3 hours since I applied it. We'll see if we can still smell anything. But I'm quite impressed with this Marks and Spencer's fragrance. I thought it would have been gone pretty much by now, and it's definitely still there. I noticed it more now I've come inside. Now my nose is a little bit clearer. So yeah, we'll finish this drink, do some weights, and then we'll do a final assessment later. Right, run done, shower done. It's now time to smell my arm for the final time to see if I can smell the fragrance or the layering. So this is the one with the layering. And this is without. So it's gone on both sides. If I'm being honest, there's no smell of the fragrance. There's no smell of even anything with the layering. And as I said earlier, that dry sort of powdery, gritty feeling is completely gone. This doesn't soak in. However, I suppose the experiment today that hasn't worked. Ultimately, the layering hasn't worked. It's not been unpleasant. It's just not worked. It's not given enough of a smell. So would I say matcha powder is good for layering fragrances? No. But I do think this one has potential still. And it's given me an idea of maybe we should double up on layering. I reckon this is the key. This is why I think we need to go back to. This was one of the first layering videos in petroleum jelly, and it really elevated the fragrance. It lasted a bit more. I reckon if we use some powders with this and then a fragrance, we might get a better result. So it's given me a bit of an idea today, maybe to combine 2 levels of layering and see if we can get a different outcome. Does that sound a bit strange? Yes. Is it strange? Yes. But we want to find something. There's got to be something out there that can help elevate some of my weaker fragrances. I don't believe eccentric molecules are a good value for money. They're £70 and people say smell of nothing, and I have smelled them before and I didn't get anything. So we will find a way of doing it. I think herbs and spices will be the next one, and I definitely think now anything that's dry, we're going to find a way of making it so it's a little bit more oily in its composition, and maybe petroleum jelly is the way. But do I recommend match powder on its own with a bit of water to layer fragrances? No, you won't get any more performance from it, but it was worthwhile doing anyway today, and thankfully it didn't take too much to wash it off, so that was the main thing. The Marmite I still haven't got over, that was horrible. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Plenty of videos coming up over the next few days, few weeks. I'm really ahead on them actually as well, so hopefully you'll enjoy those ones. And yeah, going to the darts tomorrow, so when you see this, it'll be a little bit of time since it's actually been, but yeah, hopefully enjoy that one. I've got a cheap fragrance. I want to see how long it lasts essentially. Can it get me through the whole day at the PDC World Darts Championship? Can't wait. Anyway, work today. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.